I've recently become re-obsessed with the song Coming of Age by Foster the People. A whole 12 years later, yeah, that came out in 2014. Take that in. Which is no surprise. I've always fucking loved this band. And when I saw they were playing Coachella, I was just listening to all their music so much again. I still have Torches on repeat. But I've always thought the song Coming of Age was so beautiful. I always thought the lyrics were so incredible. Just a poem. But for some reason, this time around, when I was obsessed with it once again, I was like, damn, these lyrics are so fucking relatable. Especially when he says, so I'm stepping away because I've got nothing to say. Feels like a coming of age. The second verse I love so much. When my fear pulls me out to sea and the stars are hidden by my pride and my enemies, I seem to hurt the people that care the most. Just like an animal, I protect my pride when I'm too bruised to fight. And even when I'm wrong, I tend to think I'm right. Well, I'm bored of the game and too tired to rage. Feels like a coming of age. That's crazy. So, as I'm re-listening to this, feeling like, why is it hitting so hard these days? I Google, how old was Mark Foster when Coming of Age was released? Yeah, he was 30. That just felt so interesting to me. Obviously, he has his own interpretation of what the song means to him, but it's so universally relatable, especially aging from your 20s to your 30s. And I think it's so weird. Normally, we usually only classify post-teenagehood as coming of age. We see it in movies, and that's kind of the term we refer to when we turn from teenagers to adults and hit all these important milestones that we do early in our life. That's what coming of age means, when I honestly think we can come of age at any age, obviously. But I feel like I low-key think it's ageism that is kind of playing into this, in terms of a feeling that's been so relevant to me, as you would know if you listened to last week's episode, is how after I turned 30, I just felt like I was running out of time. I felt very immature. I didn't feel grown up. I felt like I needed to figure out what to do with my life and get all my ducks in a row. And I think all of that has to do with we're just told to be fucking boring when we hit a certain age. We're just told that we're fucking old after a certain age, especially women, obviously. And of course, we do see the milestones dwindle down as we get older. But again, I think a lot of that has to do with what we are told, what society expects of us as adults. And I think a big thing that comes into play is how far we stray from our creative side the older we get, because of these stereotypes, I guess, on aging. As soon as I turned 30, I'm not even kidding you, there were so many anti-aging ads. And even before, when I was 28, 29, even when I was 25, people told me I look older than I am. People told me I'm too old to be dressing a certain way. It's just what the fuck do you mean? Do we shrivel up and die after 30? And I'm just being so real, because I know so many women feel this way. Do we, I was maybe I am gonna shrivel up and die when I turn 30. And obviously, I literally remember we went to a cabin for my 30th birthday with my friends. I remember sitting and being damn, it's my birthday and I'm 30 and I'm still young, and you can actually go see this thought process in my 30th birthday vlog. I remember being damn, I'm still young and I have so much life to live. Even when I see videos of people on Instagram being starting a class at 30, that's amazing. And I think people need to share that stuff, because once again, we all just feel we have to stop doing these things after we're out of our 20s for some reason. But at the same time, I'm of course you're starting a class at 30. 30 isn't fucking old, bitch. Why are we brainwashed? This is why I chose to wear this shirt for this episode, because I bet you anything, when I was in high school, I was the way I expected to dress at 30 was probably so much older than I'm dressing now. I just thought that was so far away and such an old age. And I'm I'm sure 17-year-old Mandy was like, there's no way I'm going to be wearing a cat shirt at 30. And like, bitch, you can catch me 80 with a cat shirt on. It's just all so crazy to me because the reality is life just begins at 30. I think it's like, I made this video on TikTok a few years ago that went kind of viral because I was just sitting, this came off of my own damn noggin. I was sitting thinking like, okay, if you're considered an adult at like 20, say, I think 20 is a good adult age. Of course, 19 maybe legally, but it's like 20 that's a proper, there's no teen in the name, okay? So I'm thinking, okay, if you're considered an adult at 20, by the time you're, say, 26, when I made this video, I said, you're only a 6-year-old adult. Is 6-year-old? What do they know about the world? Like, quite a bit, but not a whole lot. They're still getting their bearings. They're still learning what they like and how to read and all this shit. And it's like, if we apply that to our adulthood, I think our expectations can really like ease a bit, because now I'm 30 and I'm a 10-year-old adult. I've had the experience of my 20s to kind of filter through figuring out what I like, what's important to me, what's not important to me, figuring out my boundaries when it comes to family and friends and making friends and losing friends, and doing lots of mental health work on myself, going to therapy and journaling every day, and literally trying to like unwind my mind and understand like what I want to do in this life and what's like truly important to me, to figure that all out, and then essentially let it come to a halt by like not engaging in your passions and not being more creative or playful or fun because like you're like a proper adult now, is fucking insane. And it's literally so depressing. And it's crazy because I do think this is what's expected of us by 30, because once you've been in your 20s and you've like maybe had a stable job for a few years, like life just starts to feel stagnant. That's very normal. Or maybe you've gotten married and your relationship starts to feel stagnant. And of course, I was 24 when COVID happened in 2020. And I think that implemented a lot of stagnancy for like everybody. But I do think the biggest factor is like, that's just what's expected. We stop coming of age, and we start just kind of like getting used to life and getting used to like the monotony and the routine of it all, and really like losing sight of the appreciation for it. Like, I even don't really love this language, which I certainly take part in sometimes, of like like my body hurts all the fucking time now that I've turned 30. And it's like, of course that's because I'm getting older, but it doesn't mean it's because I am old. Like, it's just because I've had more years on this planet and lots of years, sitting on a computer and looking down at my phone and figuring out a comfy sleeping position. Like, I just, even when it comes to stuff like that, I'm like, I just don't love this idea that all that stuff is just things we kind of have to accept because we're getting old. I'm at a time in my life, this is what I love about being 32, is I'm prioritizing exercise because it makes me feel like physically good, not just happy in my brain, but like it keeps my body from hurting because I've just had more years alive on this planet. And I saw a TikTok, maybe you saw it, of this lady who was like in her 80s or 90s, and there's a video of her before she started lifting, and she's all like, she's got a cane and she's all hunchbacked, and then it cuts to a video of her after she's got into lifting, and she looks like a new fucking woman. Now that I've learned all this stuff in my 20s, now 30 is like, now I've gotten the hang of it, and I'm like, okay, what's next? Like, how can I implement everything I learned in my 20s to kind of live a life that feels most aligned with me? Because I think a big thing I've learned at 30 now is like, life's not just gonna happen to me. Like, it will, But the things I want won't really happen to me unless I put in the time and effort to make them happen. I think that's a big thing you learn once you turn 30. That's what it means to come of age. Like, I think all of these new exciting things that we continue to learn about ourselves are totally worth like celebrating and acknowledging and really like implementing into our lives. Like I said, instead of just fucking rolling over and accepting it all, you know what I mean? So I've been reflecting on what it means to come of age in your 30s, and that's a big one. Understanding that life isn't just gonna happen to me. It will, but the things I want to happen to me, I kind of have to put in the time and effort to make them happen. And learning that is worth celebrating. Another thing I really learned in my 20s, which is another lyric I really related to in this song, was, I'm bored of the game and too tired to rage. Feels like a coming of age. And I know so many people can relate to this. When I was in my early 20s, I was so argumentative and I was so hellbent on like making people understand my point of view and like controlling how people perceived me in terms of understanding where I'm coming from and trying to make them also feel the same way. And it's like, I'm bored of the game. I'm too tired to rage. And that is like so me now. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. If you don't agree with me, I cannot be bothered. Like there's always times and places for conversations where people are open to receiving them. But a big thing I learned about boundaries in my 20s was like, some people are not going to be on the same page as you, and sometimes a boundary means not communicating that boundary because people will not understand. Oftentimes when you have to set a boundary with someone, family, a friend, it's very likely they won't understand it, because that's kind of why you had to set the boundary in the first place, because they are crossing a line. And I think before I would just try to make people understand why I had to like set boundaries, or why I felt a certain way, or why they didn't agree with me. And now it's just like, I don't care, like do your thing. Like I am so happy over here living my life around the people that I feel so like connected with, and that I really bond with, and that see me for me and I see them for them, and we all, you know, live with similar mindsets and mentalities and ethics. And it's just like, that's another thing we're celebrating. That's another way I am coming of age in my 30s. It's like I'm so grateful to know what's good for me and what's not good for me, and now I can be fucking vigilant in my 30s. I can keep an eye out, and that's incredible, because that's something I was not capable of doing for a good chunk of my 20s. And it's so interesting because I feel like I started to finally have my bearings with boundaries and understanding who I am. And then suddenly I have this grief of like, fuck, I'm already 30. Like, why couldn't I have understood this all in my 20s so I could like figure out what I'm doing with my life and like look out for myself more and kind of set up my future better so I could be better positioned now. Like, well, after I turned 30, I was in therapy like crying about this shit, because I was like, I don't know, why didn't I go to school earlier? Why didn't I do this? And it's like, because you didn't fucking have the tools you have now, queen. And that's what's annoying to me about, once again, like, why does coming of age end? Why are we considered old at 30? Because it's like, now you finally have some bearings on things, and now we also suddenly feel like we're too old to like try new things, or like meet new people, or try a new job, or film a video, or like I literally was like, bitch, guess I gotta stop making videos, guess I gotta stop sharing the outfits I like. What a fucking juvenile thing to do. Like, be for real. I'm not gonna roll over and be fucking boring and stop sharing the things I love because I'm 30 now. Like, what the actual fuck? But all I could think about was like, I'm too old now, which is just laughable. I know 35-year-old me will be laughing at that. I know 40-year-old me will be laughing at that. I know I was feeling that way when I was 25. I knew I was feeling that way when I was 17. And I was like, I've been playing guitar for 2 years. And I'm like, damn, should have started this sooner. Probably could have been famous by now. Like, my God, like that's so annoying. And so I think it's so important like to challenge that all the time. And that's also why I'm back on the podcast. Like I so desperately want to show everyone that like you can start at any time and you can share yourself and be yourself at any time. Even if it's 30, even if it's 50, even if it's 80. My favorite thing to do these days is watch older ladies on YouTube. We all know of the Queen, Wendy Outdoors, my fellow British Columbian queen. She's 80 years old, like going camping by herself and like hauling a canoe off of her SUV and setting up tents. And there's another gal I really love to watch on YouTube, Amber Baldwin. She's like an introvert and she shares her introverted days in her life. And she literally went from being like an accountant or something to being a full-time YouTuber at like 40 or 50, I'm pretty sure, just from sharing like her cute little introverted life and like all the hobbies she likes to do and days like hanging out with her dog and like going to cafes. And it's just like, bitch, it's never too late. Why would I tell myself that now? Like, wake the fuck up. I was just telling myself I'm too old to be posting videos. I'm too old to be doing anything creative. Too old to be sharing my life. Too old to be sharing my outfits. Everything felt stupid. I was just like, this is so embarrassing. Okay, by the standards of who? Nobody gives a fuck. And if they do, I don't give a fuck about them. Like, get a fucking life if you really think that about me, which nobody probably does. I just suddenly feel so liberated after like coming to this conclusion and like finally starting the podcast again. And I started like being a lot more like confident in myself. I've been working on my confidence the last couple of years, but suddenly recently something's clicked where I'm like, wait, I am kind of that bitch. Wait, I do trust my taste and the things I love. And I do have something to say and I am very smart in all these different ways. And I'm done kind of like being ashamed of the things I like, because I think, like I said, it's important to be constantly challenging that, to always be wearing what you want regardless of your age, to always be doing what you want regardless of your age. It's so important for all of us to challenge that so we can all inspire each other and we can all, especially women, and so we can all just create like a more expressive, cohesive, open, loving world. Like we need to stop telling yourself you're too old, please. And I think especially because I did the Artist Way last year and everybody's talking, these are the buzzwords these days: creativity, community. They're kind of getting on my nerves if I'm being honest. But like, oh my God, it's true. Like, don't let it be a buzzword for you, because once I did the Artist Way, okay, you're supposed to journal every day. People have so much shit to talk about the Artist Way, but anyone should do it at any age. I think people have beef with it because there's a lot of like God talk in it, but it's not like Jesus God. It's like spirituality God. If you can put that aside, if it bothers you, it doesn't bother me. I think there's so much to gain out of it, especially when we're in this super online world where we are so forced to not think our own thoughts and not consume what we want to consume, just kind of being fed everything all the time. The Artist Way is very valuable. And in it, the book was written in the 90s, and she's talking about how these distractions are bad for us. Because in the book, there's a week where you're supposed to not consume any media. And because this book is from the 90s, she's not talking about social media. She's not talking about your phone. She's saying, don't watch TV, don't listen to music, don't read anything. Just like for a whole week, just do shit. Just clean, just make things, just go for a walk, go exercise, anything but consume. And the reason for this is so you have time with your own mind. So you're building experiences, and so you have time to like think about the things you like and don't like and how you feel about certain things. And it's just crazy with the fact that this was made in the 90s. It's already stating these things as distractions, like TV and music and reading. Like obviously they're all great and they're all art, but it's like we we're always going to take the easier route and just distracting ourselves. She's referring to this old, regular media. And now we have these little fucking distraction squares in our pockets all the time that are just taking us out of the present and making us forget who we are. The older we get, and just as technology advances and we all get more addicted to our phones, like, it's just going to be harder to like find out who we are. And so it's so good to challenge that all the time. And in the book, you're supposed to journal 3 pages every day, just everything you're thinking in the morning, 3 pages every day. And you're supposed to take yourself on a date every week. It's called an artist date, but you can do anything. You can go for a walk. You can go get a coffee. You can go to the movies by yourself. You can go to the dollar store and like buy yourself a bunch of cute things and do something with them. Like, she encourages you to just spend quality time with yourself, not sitting and binging TV, not sitting and scrolling on your phone, going for a walk and not just listening to music constantly. And that made me reflect so much on how we just have less and less time for that the older we get, and how we really stop prioritizing it. And if we could prioritize it, how much more we would know about ourselves, how much more we would nurture ourselves, how much more opportunities we would have to be creative and express ourselves. And this is what I learned when I was doing the artist's way. My weekly dates, like one time I like baked cookies, and then the other time I painted, and getting more into journaling, getting more into my creative hobbies just made me realize like this shit needs to be fucking prescribed. Like the way people talk about exercising regularly, eating healthy, which she does recommend in the artist way too, but the way people talk about those things, and I know people say like, yeah, take up a hobby, it's good for you. Like, no, this needs to be so fucking emphasized. When you spend quality time with yourself, you are getting to know yourself. And when you are giving yourself the opportunity to be creative, keyword creative, because that is such an encouraged thing when we are kids. Like, everybody wants you to be creative. I love drawing. I love painting. I was so like praised for it as a kid and as a teenager. And I'd say I still am to like a degree, but it's like it's just expected less of you, and it's also just harder to find the time, or you just start to feel like, why is this important? Why should this be important when I've got a million other things to do or money to make or whatever? I think it's so valuable when it comes to aging. Like, I truly believe creativity is how we stay youthful. It's how we like appreciate things in the world. It's how we express ourselves. And like, it's really the only way. It's the only way to like really convey the things we're feeling and experiencing. And it's just like encouraged the older you get to like shut that out. And it's just so important to go against the goddamn grain, because we never stop experiencing and we never stop learning things about our lives. The older we get, I really think each decade is like a way of coming of age and learning something new about yourself. And I know I'm going to be laughing at this in like 10 or 20 years, because it's like, bitch, just you wait. There's so much more to learn. I think as long as we are living, we should not be being told our lives are over in any way, in any sort of messaging, like whether you've turned a certain age or have decided to have kids or have started a certain career. Like, I think that helps us lose sight of the fact that it's never too late to start over or try something new. And I think those are the things that keep us more youthful than anything. When I was venting about all of this with my therapist a few months ago, feeling like, oh my God, why didn't I like go to school earlier or something? She was like, I'm quite excited for you, to be honest. Like, you're in a really great spot where you work full time at this job that doesn't like take away mental capacity for you. So you have the time here and there to follow your creative endeavors. Like, posting videos online and doing the podcast and stuff. You're not tied to kids. You're in great mental health right now. You have a beautiful, reliable relationship. Like, so many people can't say those things. And you're just starting your 30s. You've got your whole life. It's like your 30s is like your 20s, but like you fucking understand what's going on now a little bit more. I couldn't be more grateful for that, because my mid-20s were very riddled with self-hatred and feeling very lost and insecure and anxious, and I just feel like my head is screwed on right now. I feel so inspired to take advantage of that right now. I feel like, why the fuck wouldn't I? You know, I was talking about in the last episode how I just felt like how I had been feeling like, you know, maybe I have to go to school or figure out a new career or just like do something I really don't want to do because I'm 30 now. And then I was like, why the fuck would I do that? I've been building something. I've been continually being here for myself. I've been building something online and continuing to show up for myself in how I want to express myself to the world. And that is a learning experience. And all of this, oh my God, this too. Why creativity is so important to continue to implement every day of your life for the rest of your life, however you can, is because like this is a fucking learning experience at the end of the day. I think when I started this whole creativity journey, I was like, well, okay, but how am I gonna make this monetizable at the end of the day? Like, I was like, maybe I'll get back into painting. Eventually I'll be able to sell paintings and I'll be a painter. Like, maybe I'll play guitar again. And bitch, I don't know. Like, I'm just always thinking in this like capitalistics, like how can I make money off of this? Even and with social media, this is why it's taken me years. I've had such an up and down feeling about my presence online with, you know, starting out as a vegan food blog and loving sharing about that stuff. And then like, you know, life ebbs and flows and I'm not really interested in that anymore. And getting partnership opportunities from sharing more about my life and then kind of feeling like, oh, now this video thing can be monetized and I should just figure out the quickest way to do that so I can have a career out of this. And in turn, it made me like so stressed about how to show up and what was the right and correct way to show up in order to, I don't know, gain followers or get partnerships or whatever. And feeling like, okay, well, clearly I don't belong in this space if I'm not meeting those quotas, or if I don't feel like I fit into like the cookie cutter idea of an influencer. And now I'm much more viewing it as like, this is an opportunity. If I embrace it, this is an opportunity for me to learn so much about myself and grow and just like commit to something and see if I can do it. Film a video, edit a video, write some things down, talk about how I'm feeling, see if it resonates with someone. Like, that is way fucking more valuable to me than working with brand. Not saying I wouldn't. Hey, if you're watching. But I just mean like there's so much to get out of being creative for yourself. It's like such a huge way that you can learn about yourself. That is why I'm like, we need to continue being creative way into our 30s and 40s and 50s. Everybody deserves it in some form. If you're gardening, if you're skateboarding, if you're writing songs, if you're writing in your journal, if you're a car enthusiast, like there's so many different avenues of creativity. Especially as women, I feel like our hobbies get kind of like watered down. People are like, oh, you're into makeup, you're into fashion, like get a real hobby. You like making little videos on your phone, like get a real hobby. And it's like, these are all real hobbies. Do not feel ashamed for the things you love. In fact, embrace them, please. We're not getting any younger. And that's also amazing. If you embraced creativity and the things that you loved, what could your life look like in 10 years? How much more could you know about yourself? Not how much richer could you be with money, how much richer could you be in knowing about yourself? Like, stop the shame. Let's stop the shame. Let's remember what we love. And if you're kind of in a space where you have forgotten what you love, which I was definitely there, I definitely recommend doing the artist way and going on the dates, going outside. I think if you don't know where to start, like, mindfulness is such a great place to start. I think so much of us are just like forgetting who we are with this like freakily online world. Going for a walk and looking around and like seeing what you appreciate about what you see, and the flowers or the bugs or the mountains. Like, every little thing that you love is important. And I think that's another thing we just lose touch with as we get older. If you're that lost on what you love, just start there and it'll be a domino effect. It takes practice and habit to be mindful, to appreciate the things you love, to not shame yourself for the things you love. I think I had such a hard time with like feeling like the things I loved were valid, or like my taste was valid. Or if we just follow that, we will continue to learn and grow, and that is to be celebrated. Those are milestones we're celebrating. That's coming of age, in my opinion. This one was kind of short, but it just felt like something I had to get off my chest. I hope you resonated. See you next week.